Hey guys, and welcome back to the Social Saint podcast. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so happy with just like the fact that we got so much love on the last podcast. Like I really appreciate it so much. Like just having so many people just tuning in, watching the podcast for the first time. So many people that have never seen the podcast. So many subscribers. I really, really appreciate it, guys. And obviously this is just the start of a new journey, and we're so excited. I'm back today with one of my really good friends, Tolu. How are you, Tolu?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm even thinking about the last episode now. I'm like, yes, engagement.
Engagement.
It was a really good one. Honestly, it was so fantastic.
Oh, thank you for watching, and then obviously thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. I mean, it's obviously amazing to have you on today. How's life been? You've just come back from Nigeria. Ooh. What's going on? I can even see the little slight tan.
No, the tan is fading fast.
Yeah,
because this
but the glow is still there. The glow is still there.
It might also be Fenty though. But no, this country is the ghetto.
Yeah.
The absolute ghetto.
100%.
When did we came back last week, and I may or may not have seen you guys.
Yeah.
And the cold.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to do this outdoor eating thing.
Can we just talk about that? Last week we went out to eat, yeah?
Allegedly.
I don't count it. I'm not counting
You didn't even have a meal.
I didn't have a meal. Oh my gosh. Guys, we went out to eat, yeah? We won't say the restaurant. We went out to eat, and it was just a horrific experience.
It was horrific.
We all travelled like an hour to get to the destination. Then we got to the destination and they were like, the restaurant was like, we don't have half of the food on the menu.
Yeah.
So then them lot were still on their way. So I had to send a picture of the menu and be like, half the food that we want to eat is not even there.
And they'd written on the menu, one steak left.
Yeah, one
burger left. One lobster. No, they had. I think they had lots of the lobster spaghetti. But other than that,
no.
And do you want chicken?
No.
Everybody wanted chicken.
Oh my god, it was so literally. So it was so bad. So then we got there, we hardly ate, and then everyone's food was not nice.
No.
So then we ended up going. We went McDonald's after. You lot went Echo after.
Oh.
It was just. It was so bad. I didn't know put this out. And it was the fact we were in the cold. That's
outside.
What made the whole situation worse. It was like if we just went to a bad restaurant, it would be like, okay, that was just bad. But we were freezing cold, dedicated to this alfresco dining.
Do we call it sidewalk or pavement?
Yeah, it was
on the pavement.
On the pavement.
Some guy was drunk walking on the street. He fell over.
Oh yeah, he just tumbled.
Mess.
That was actually a horrific experience.
I enjoyed it though.
I would do it again.
It's one for the books, do you know?
Yeah. We can tell our kids about the time. Oh my gosh.
That's my experience being back.
Yeah. Oh, definitely different to Nigeria.
Oof.
I'm seeing people's videos of them in Nigeria right now and I'm like,
it's amazing.
It just looks lit.
And Nigeria is just, it doesn't stop, or at least Lagos doesn't stop.
Yeah.
There's always something. I was supposed to have like a games night, but because people are always ready for a motive, 50 people showed up to our games night and we got locked off.
Oh my gosh.
But it's just a whole world.
Yeah.
Completely different.
It's like it's in a different, the UK is just in a different, it's in a bubble compared to the rest of the world.
Honestly.
It literally is. Okay, well, that's fantastic. Glad that you're good. A little catch up there. So today we're going to be speaking about a topic. I've actually wanted to talk about this topic for a while, and I've kind of touched on bits of it here and there, but I've avoided it because, one, I wasn't really sure how to address it as a Christian, and then two, just like, I don't know, like, I think I've been like overthinking maybe just like how it can be received the wrong way, if that makes sense. So I've always wanted to like, I just wanted to address it the right way basically. But today we're going to be speaking about like pretty privilege. And it's a real thing, okay guys? Like it is a real thing. And I think we all know it's real, but it's hard to like call it out for what it is. So it kind of just gets swept under the carpet a little bit.
Yeah. I think because everybody's implicated. So talking about it, you have to acknowledge what you're doing as well, and your role in it. Yeah. It's like white people and racism. Yeah. It's hard to face up to it because you're like,
And also, the thing is, even with white people and racism, if you are something, like if you are white, you are white.
Yeah.
Prettiness is subjective, right? So...
Yes.
Now, no. Okay, so it isn't. And that's what the whole point of this podcast is, because it's like, is there a definitive prettiness?
Are we getting into okay? Because I think it is subjective, but there are not universal understandings of it, but different cultural understandings. So for us, we live in like the West, and I do think the West has a very high standard of this is what's pretty or this is what's beautiful. But then different societies run different ways. So another society might see something else. But because of like colonialism, you have to say that main standard, that Western standard definitely is because it's trying to be global.
It's really trying to push and the thing is, to some extent it's becoming global, because even if you see Asian countries in like animes and stuff like that, and how they like draw them or distort them to have some more Western features, it's interesting.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Okay, so I want to ask, first of all, what is your understanding of pretty privilege? Like, have you heard that term before? Like, what do you think it means? Like,
pretty privilege is the privilege. So I think being pretty is pretty understandable. Is if somebody considers you to have very appealing features in some way. The privilege that comes with that is in their perception of who they think you are. Maybe they start to presume like your personality or like your intentions behind doing certain things, or you can also presume your presence in a space. So I'm trying to think of all the different ways pretty privilege could, I guess, be tapped in or whatever. And it could be like you walk into a space and all the staff there might think, oh, this one's here to get something really nice because you're pretty. Or, you know, you're walking down the street, someone thinks you look lost because they're like, oh, you know, this pretty person, we have to treat them well. We have to make sure they're not like inconvenienced in any way. So it could be what they think your intentions are, what they think your personality is like. And it's kind of like I think it comes with like an assumption of this person either like is beyond any wrongdoing or there's this need to want to favor them. Like, oh, I want to do something nice for that person because they're pretty. Because whether you acknowledge it or not.
Because the thing is, before we go back into pretty privilege, 1 second, like, I just wanted to quickly note, like, the reason why I thought to this topic, or the reason why it, like, really, I was like, now, like, right now, I'm going to do this podcast, is because the other day I was on Instagram and I saw a picture of Molly May and Tommy Fury.
Okay.
And someone had reposted it and put real life Barbie and Ken. Then I looked at them and I was like, oh my gosh.
Ding, 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 ding.
They are Barbie and Ken.
Kind of.
And like, they are at least.
Is Ken dark haired? Or is he blonde? Or clearly didn't tap into any of.
That is a good point. I've always thought he was dark haired. I always thought he was dark haired. Anyway, Ken on the Nickelodeon show, you know, there's a Barbie.
Yeah. I don't know if is he blonde?
Ken blonde this whole time. He's blonde.
But you know.
Oh no, some Ken dolls are brunette, but some are blonde.
But then that would make Tommy still a pretty good.
Yeah, Ken. He's still a runner up for Ken. But it made me realise, like, obviously they are seen as a very good looking couple in society. Now within the black community that can maybe be different, but in general most black people would be able to admittedly say that they are very good looking, and even like obviously just general by Western standards she is extremely good looking, and there's other people who've been on Love Island who've had, you know, great personality, maybe even been featured more on the show, that have like a quarter of her followers. Do you get what I mean? Even the person that won the show, and now arguably Amber, who is a light-skinned she's mixed race black person. Arguably you could say she did Molly May did more with what she could after she came out or whatever like that. But there's a reason why Pretty Little Thing opted for Molly May, the runner-up, over Amber, because she fit the brand more.
And I think they hadn't typically done that before Molly May.
No.
It tends to be the winner gets all the deals.
The winner gets the deals. But until that year, the runner-up got it.
And she got a big deal as well. I mean, it didn't even match the one that Amber got in the end, I think. Yeah.
Amber ended up getting a good deal after. Anyway, but the point was, Pretty Little Thing is usually done work with the winners. And that year. And I was literally thinking like, wow, that's pretty privilege. Now that could have a little bit of racism involved.
I think I don't know.
But
with Molly May, she definitely has pretty privilege, but I just thought it was very, I think it's easier in a society like Britain to sell a white female brand.
And that's the thing.
Than any other diverse kind of thing.
100%.
So she was the shoe-in. Like, if I'm a business and I'm thinking who's going to sell more, I would assume Molly
and you
May,
could, and 100%,
Amber's loved.
Yeah, and you could 100% do it off of engagement, because really and truly, who are the fans going on whose Instagram pages to engage with, and that's how they get away.
I've been on Molly May's page.
That's how. I mean, I follow her, and I actually really like her. And a lot of people do. But the thing is, the problem is that right now, and I've mentioned this in a podcast about 5 podcast episodes ago, I said the problem is brands get away with only working with certain people because of the numbers, and they pay a lot less to black creators or black influencers because it's like, well, you don't get that high in engagement. And now that makes sense financially, but it continues the cycle. Yeah. That doesn't actually change.
And it doesn't mean it's not also tied into pretty privilege and racism.
Preference and all of these things. Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to kind of touch on like, because the thing is, what I didn't know, I wasn't aware of, is there's actually like a name for the study of this kind of thing. It's called Polychronomics, which is the study of physical attractiveness in an economical sense.
Oh, okay.
So like being beautiful can make getting a job easier, or make you more popular, or earn you a lighter sentence when being convicted of a crime.
You what, mate?
What?
But then that would make sense. Like, you know, all you have to do is think about it, and then you're like, oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so there's actually studies into this because it's like that entrenched into society. Polychronomics, if anyone wants to Google it.
With a K or with a...
No, P-U-L-C-H. Okay. Yeah. Really interesting, that.
Yeah. But not too surprising.
Not at all. And it makes sense. But it's scary.
For it to be statistically proven is a bit
scary. Yeah. And the thing is, what they like, a lot of like, when I was reading some of the studies, I thought this was quite interesting. They said prettiness is often synonymous with being thin, white, able-bodied, and cis. The closer you are to those ideals, the more often you are labelled pretty.
Because I was gonna say, when you said, you know, pretty people are more likely to be receive lower sentences, I was thinking, in your mind, what was the skin tone or the colour of the person that you just imagined? Yeah. Because in my head, it was a white lady.
I actually thought of a light-skinned black person, which is interesting. Like versus a darker-skinned black person.
I could have thought of a darker-skinned black woman, but I didn't.
Or a racially ambiguous person. Interesting.
So already we're seeing a
little
nuance.
But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. And have you ever personally experienced pretty privilege in the sense of being on either side of it?
Definitely. I think it's not even... I don't think it's disputable. The reason I was thinking about the definition in all the various ways is because when you walk through life, you can tell when people are treating you differently, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. And it's easy when you're a black woman to call out the worst, but sometimes I can think of, like, when you just mentioned more likely to get a job, I started to think about my interview processes and things like that, and whether my interviewers or, you know, HR maybe thought, this is a pretty one, like subconsciously, of course, no one's saying these things consciously in their minds, but maybe she would be good for the role, because she's pretty. It's tied into the prettiness. I think me and all my friends are pretty.
I was literally gonna ask, do you think you're pretty?
Of course.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty. I think the thing with prettiness is you can't really, if you think you're good looking, it kind of...
I know if Theo was here right now, she'd be like, of course.
Of course I think I'm pretty.
Shut up.
So I definitely feel, because I think that, I feel like it's definitely affected how people perceive me. But then also I've run into pretty people that I'm just like, I want to be your friend.
Yeah.
And so that might mean they'll be like, oh, can you, like, depending on what setting you're in, if somebody, if you're making friends with people, or you're playing a game or something, I might be like, oh, I want them on my team.
Yeah.
Because I want to be friends with this person because the prettiness is...
It's attractiveness.
Yeah,
and the thing is, there's a level of this that we have to recognise is natural, which sounds terrible. Now, the features we're attracted to might be formed or conformed in some sort of way. Yeah. But the idea of you acting on what you're attracted to is completely natural. If I'm attracted to something, naturally you're drawn to it. You act on because of this thing existing, if that makes sense. So if I find someone attractive, the way I respond to that physically is going to change.
Like your brain
starts chemically doing something different.
The activity is completely different.
Yeah. I think
so. It makes sense.
I think I am pretty.
Girl.
No.
What did I just say?
I think I think I'm beautiful. I don't know if I think I'm pretty. Now,
you've definitely experienced pretty privilege. I'm trying to remember when. Because
Okay, no, but this is the thing. Yeah, this is why I think I'm a beautiful person, but I think that my inner beauty.
You know, my soul.
I think a lot of people are more attracted to me because of who I am as opposed to how I look. Now, I don't think my looks are bad. I don't think I'm an ugly person.
Far from it.
But to some people, look, I don't. You know why I say not pretty but beautiful? Because I think pretty is more objective. Is that the one where?
Yeah, it's a blanket.
Yeah. I think pretty is more objective because of society, but beauty is more, and I know you might think these two are the same thing, but I just feel like in my head they're different, whether or not they are. But beauty is more like I can say that person is a really beautiful person. Do you get what I mean? But they might not necessarily be pretty. I might be chatting crap.
I feel like it's the opposite, but I'm trying to figure out why I think that. Because I think beautiful, everybody can objectively agree that you can find beauty in people in a way that isn't based on aesthetic.
But that's what I'm saying. So I'm agreeing with you. So I think I am non-aesthetically...
Girl.
I think I'm aesthetically pretty, but I mean...
But the beauty that is the non-aesthetic you think you also have? Or you think that's the focus? Because I think on first impressions, you're a pretty person. People might then say, oh, I get to know her more. I find her even more beautiful because of who she is and like her values and how she communicates. But I still think if somebody looks at you, they'll be like, oh, she can't relate.
I don't think that's true. And I don't care. Like, because the thing is, what happened with me is I'm glad I wasn't default pretty. Because...
Oh, what? You had an ugly face?
I've got character now.
I had an ugly face too.
I think the ugly ducklings are the ones with the most character. And I'm glad that I glowed up. Because I think I've glowed up. And I'm not... I think people that glowed up... Because I think that there's a type of people that are just beautiful from young. Like, they're the people that you just kids that you just think, oh my gosh, like...
Just stunning.
Did God just spend 20,000 hours?
You can't stop looking at their face.
Yeah, literally, you're just like, you're so... Like, I saw a kid in the park the other day and I thought, oh my gosh, like, if I was not mentally okay, I knew you were going to go into something criminal. I just knew. I would steal you because you look like something I want to look at every day. And you're probably really annoying. You probably also trash your parents' house. You're definitely someone else's child. But like, that kid was so... And I was like, that kid is cute. Like, default. I don't think people can say that kid's not cute, right? Or pretty, right? But I feel like beauty is like, everyone is beautiful. If that makes sense.
Which is what... That's what I was
saying.
Yeah,
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. I think pretty... I don't know why I kind of detached from pretty a bit because I don't feel like it's up to me when I'm thinking of my engagement in society.
Whereas
it's whether people think I'm pretty that might affect me. I think I'm pretty, but I can't change my life with that.
That's the
Other
thing.
people have to think I'm pretty too.
I feel like you can say you're beautiful, but you can't say you're pretty in society, at least. That's why I use the terms like that.
I see.
But I would still think that people think I'm pretty. I like to think, anyway.
Girl, people... Well, I think you're pretty. So that's one.
That's one person on my side. But you know I'm obsessed with everyone. Like, I'm in love with Tolu. Sorry, I've been saying this for like 3 years. I'm literally in love with this person, and you know, we're both Christians, and we're both like, you know, it's not that way inclined, but
yeah, but we can be aligned in fate in other ways.
Yeah, but I literally sometimes I see Tolu and I'm like, I hate that you're my friend because I can't hate you.
You're actually very irritating.
Yeah, I literally can't hate you because you're literally the best person ever.
Oh my god.
But it's interesting because I have seen it play out. And do you know what was interesting with Pretty Privilege? Sorry, just to go back. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting because, and it kind of goes into the next thing I kind of want to talk about, but when I was in uni, clubs.
I don't know much.
You never went clubbing?
I went to a London uni.
Yeah.
And I was just like, there was this thing called end of year. There was like an end of year shindig for the campus. And that would be the thing that I went to. Just because everyone on campus. Girl, I commuted from home. And I was like,
it's long.
Honestly, I'm not going to travel to Mile End.
Yeah.
To go jump around with some dirty students.
Screaming.
I'm going to stay at home, spend my money on ASOS and just watch Netflix.
Makes sense. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my mic, guys.
So not as much exposure, but what was your point anyway?
Because I remember being at uni and I've not clubbed much. There was like 3 years where I clubbed and that was it. But it was like pretty girls, really, their clubbing experience was very different. And that's why I've never thought of myself as pretty, really. But I still think I am. But this is why, because like it would be like the pretty girls would get drinks paid for. They'd get moved to by certain looking guys. They'd get entrance into VIP. Thing. They would get
just different experience.
Even service at the bar faster. Like, you know, you're standing in a bar. You've ever been standing at a bar in a club? It's just annoying. Like, you're just there waiting for ages and it's just like, no.
I mean, I was here first.
Okay. And then it's like the pretty girls just get served straight away. And
I see that.
That's like a thing. And then I remember reading an article about District, which is a club in London, about how, have you heard about it?
Of course.
Yeah, about how they were letting in girls that looked a certain way. Black girls were
They've
not.
They've turfed every black woman they could find. They're like,
even the ones that weren't even trying to come into the club.
You're not allowed in. Walking past, you walk across the street.
Yeah. You literally don't come anywhere near our club. Don't want to be associated with you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so they were like well known for like having policy. A certain aesthetic.
Yeah.
That looked like what they wanted to be seen with, and it's based on the fact that they're like, we want people to be attracted. This is why it's so messed up, because it's like we want men to be attracted to the women in this club so that they want to come back here. That's why some clubs pay certain women to come to the club, pay for their drinks all night, just because of the kind of guys that they know will come, that will want to spend money to show off. And it's like those kind of women aren't women that look like us.
Girl, no.
We are really pretty.
We are very pretty, but we're like picnic pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not.
We're like brunch pretty.
Yeah.
And I love brunch pretty, to be honest, because
it's the best kind
who
of
wants to be in the dark at night?
Yeah.
So I'll take it. I'm pretty in the sunshine. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. And even when you said pretty women, when they're in just any clubbing, partying, it's very curious who gets moved to and who doesn't, because when you can't really have a conversation and be like, oh, these are all the things in my brain and this is why I think I'm a beautiful person, who gets moved to is run on just on what you look like alone.
Because I just remember I've always been like not the person that gets moved to.
Girl, same. Welcome.
But I don't like, and when I was younger I
cared. Have peace in it though.
Yeah, when I was younger I cared more. Now I'm like behind my friend, like,
girl, we're here for a good time. It's just the girls tonight.
Yeah, literally. Like, if my friend's getting moved to, I'm like, girl, he's cute, you know, whatever. But like, no. Yeah, not for one. Like, even, you know, when we were younger, like, used to go, I don't know, you definitely didn't do this. I don't know why I say we. I used to go dance, like, go out or whatever, go carnival, and girls, your friends dance with a guy and he's dead. It's like, get away,
girl,
get away,
I've
sis.
been to many a house party. That's also important.
There we go.
Yeah, it was just the club setting.
Yeah, that wasn't for you.
But I love being in people's houses.
Oh, I love it.
I love a house party.
Absolutely. But I think it's interesting, and it kind of goes back to that kind of Polychronomics thing. Yeah, is that right? Yeah. It's interesting that they say those particular features, like being white, thin, cisgendered, able-bodied. Are we going to talk about that?
Absolutely. I don't think I have the range, but definitely like prominent.
If you think about adverts, when you think about it,
it's like they don't exist.
Shocking.
Even jobs, when you think about how many people in like my office and I guess there's visible and invisible disabilities.
Yeah, of course. 100%.
So it's not necessarily that, there's absolutely no one. But it's not... If we're thinking there are 4 black people in the room out of 400, there's probably 2 disabled people. If that.
Shocking.
So that... It's like they're not even in the running. It's crazy.
It's
the way society just puts them to the side.
Yeah.
But Polychronomics?
Polychronomics. But that's another thing, because... Then, like I said, then we have to come into it. I think it's important, and I can't speak on everything because I am able-bodied. I'm not thin, but I'm not bigger, I don't think. And I can't speak on...
You're not British thin, but I think on the grand scheme of the world.
Well, yeah, I'm not, I'm not like,
it's all in it.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is I can't speak on all of those factors, but the one I can speak on is race. And... the closeness to whiteness, closer to whiteness and this idea of purity and whole, and is something that, you know what, I read an article title, I'm going to name the podcast, so I'm going to steal it. It's literally called Beauty in the Eyes of the Colonizer. And I thought, that part.
I heard
because
that.
Because it's really interesting how, even now in 2021, we're still seeing the effects of beauty, pigmentocracy and colorism, like, and I'm going to define those terms, and how they play out in society every day. Because if you think about it, so just to define it,
pigmentocracy.
Let me quickly find the definition. I've got it on my phone. Colorism. The closer you are. Oh no, that's not the definition. I haven't got a definition.
How would I define colorism?
Oh, I had it. No.
Colorism probably...
So, okay,
They'll do something about perception, right?
Yeah. So basically, I'll do them what they are in my head. This is not from the dictionary, so I'm sorry. But pigmentocracy is the closer to whiteness you are, the more valued you are. So that's across all races. So that's like the caste system in Asia. That's like colorism within the black community. So the closer you are, so I think colorism comes within pigmentocracy.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But then is colorism so if this value-based pigmentocracy, oh, Chrissy, you know how you have like meritocracy?
Yeah.
Okay, so then colorism within that is... Is it the treatment of the treatment you receive?
Yeah.
Or
so it's like
this preference.
It's basically prejudice versus discrimination, maybe. Like how they play out. Like I had the definitions. I've lost them. I'm sorry, guys. But
according to Oxford
go ahead.
Languages, colorism is prejudice or discrimination, spot on, against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically amongst people of the same ethnic or racial group. So that's interesting. Where pigmentocracy is across races.
It's the
and
scale.
The value system.
Yeah.
Then colorism is then somehow within racial groups or ethnic groups.
Yeah.
So it's within the same scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it exists within pigmentocracy? Or
I think so.
Pigmentocracy? So so that's how it's perceived. And I feel like we have to discuss it because that plays a massive part into pretty privilege. And just like, because a couple of my friends went out recently and they said they went out to this event and there was a lot of girls there that were racially ambiguous, meaning non-black, but also not white, not necessarily Asian, mixed race, racially ambiguous. And they weren't ugly girls, But the guys seem to think like, oh my gosh, they're stunning. Oh my gosh, like it's crazy. I haven't been to a party that there's been so many good-looking girls or whatever. And it made me think, and we were discussing it. Do girls who aren't darker have to do less to be seen as pretty?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the short answer.
Yeah.
The long answer is because of things like colorism.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore the prevalence of like bleaching creams and like the Caribbean, Africa, Nigeria specifically. Yeah. It's so prevalent because the moment you are lighter, you feel like things come to you a bit more.
Yeah.
And the only reason, people are buying all these soaps and selling all these things is because they feel like it gives you some kind of access. So I would say it is easier for them to be deemed as pretty because somehow, fairness is greatness or whatever.
The term fairness.
I know. I wasn't going to say it.
No, let's get into it.
I want to know who decided that word was going to be fair. Fair? You could have said like
fair,
lily of the valley type. There are other ways to describe.
That's a hate crime.
Fair.
I feel like that's a.
How can you equate fair with a word that is supposed to mean fairness across all people, and now it means light? It's only fair that you're fair. I hate it.
You know what I saw the other day when I was researching for this podcast? Before when they had beauty pageants in America, the only in 1940s were people of other races allowed to enter, because before that the entry requirements was of good health and of white complexion.
Wait, 1940 though. That checks out.
Makes sense, right?
Does. But then
but the fact that was a
white complexion.
Yeah. Or they said
that means some mixed race kids could have made it in.
Wait, let me see the actual term. They something about white, and I was like, okay.
But then even beauty pageants.
Good health and of white race, I should say.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
White race.
Because that one drop rule, a lot of those mixed race kids were not making it, whether they looked white or not.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's crazy. The fact that they purposely added that.
They were also.
They could have just alluded to
no blacks, no Irish. They were fine with saying white.
They said no. We want white.
This is for the white ones and everybody else.
Because you can't be beautiful.
Oh,
so why would you enter this contest?
Beauty pageant?
Don't be so ridiculous.
That was less than 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
So it all.
But we're not racist. This is not an institutionally racist country.
No, it can't be.
America is not racist.
Oh no, America can be racist to the British, but the British can't be racist at all. Yeah. Because then why are the black kids doing well?
Point.
That race report just spun me.
Fantastic point you've got there. Great rebuttal.
I mean, some people's heads need to roll.
But just insane. They're actually insane.
But pretty privilege in that sense has been entrenched.
Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, like even colorism and like pretty privilege and just the way that it can play out in even a classroom. Let's not go as dramatic as a club. Let's think of a classroom. You see a kid and you think that kid is more desirable, easy on the eyes. Mm-hmm. They want help. Then there's a kid that's darker and that's always talking, doing the most. It just plays out. It just checks out.
I think you can definitely, because again, you start to assume that the child you see as less pretty is somehow just being a bother. Yes. Like, you're inconveniencing me because you're not pleasing me with your face. So I really just don't want to be looking in your direction.
Yeah, literally.
Whereas this one, oh, come on.
Yeah.
She's looking at me like, oh, I really need help. I'm bad at math. Like, I really need to help her. I think it definitely, something about the brain wanting to look at things that pleases it. Yeah. I think definitely plays into it. But then it doesn't mean we can't call it out and say this needs to change.
Yeah. What I think is interesting, and I think I sent you the article before we recorded. They said in it, like there was a guy and he was, sorry, and this is more from like he was a Christian and he was interviewing another guy in the church about like his choices, preferences when it comes to women, and then he said, and I kind of want to go into this later, so I'm not going to touch on it too much, but I'm going to touch on it and we're going to come back to it. He said, who would you consider more feminine, Taylor Swift or Lauryn Hill? And the guy said, Taylor Swift. He said, who would you consider more feminine, the white antebellum southern woman with the soft, meek voice, or the slave woman working in the field picking cotton in rags? And then the boy said the southern white woman. And that's an extreme, like, opposing ends. Yeah. Like, you've literally picked two complete opposite people, and there's power played into that and all of that kind of stuff. But this whole idea of, like, inherent feminism and beauty being related to this kind of, like,
a very specific
type
of woman. I think one thing I liked about that article, because I read it a couple times, it says that it's definitely cultural. And I think that's where a lot of when we're having these discussions, it's very hard to put your finger on it. Because it almost feels like, oh, everybody's just behaving like this, that maybe it's scientific or maybe it's the norm, but it's actually culture. Because I even thought it was curious that with that description of the antebellum white woman, it says she's meek? With a meek voice or a soft voice. And then with the slave woman, she doesn't even have a voice. It just says slave woman in rags. I'm like,
that's even loaded.
Culturally, there's already so much in there.
Yeah, it's a loaded question, really.
Wait, is it why don't she have a voice? I think it's both.
Yeah.
But I think he didn't intend it to be leading, so it's definitely more loaded.
Loaded, yeah.
But it's a cultural thing that you're able to grab onto the concept of this white woman that's meek, because culturally you're very familiar with that. Whereas this slave woman, she is definitely silent, because people don't really think of the humanity behind someone like this slave woman, that you immediately your mind goes, 1800, and she's just this black woman, and she's a slave and she's in rags,
and it's kind of like it's like animalist. She's animalized, we've been making up words. I mean, I do it every single podcast. I say a word, I'm like, that's definitely not a word, but I'm gonna keep it there.
Which word was it you said last week? It was definitely
methodological. I've still been.
But it was a word.
Is that?
I was like, oh come on, Rianne, you should know that word. Yeah, it's a word.
It wasn't even the fact. I knew it was a word, but I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Methodological. No, method.
Method. Yeah. See, it's a lot harder when the mic's in front of you. The lights are on. The mic's here. We're live in action, baby, and you can't think of words. It happens, honestly.
Oh man. Well,
there you have it. 3 years doing English degree and still can't see it. But it's interesting because recently, I don't know if you saw this whole debacle on social media. It was with Rachel Humes and Candice Braithwaite, if that's how you say her name. There was an article, was it BBC? Someone wanted to do a panorama or something on colorism in the health care profession. Health,
as in within the industry, or within the patients?
Yeah, as in how people of darker complexions are treated. You know, women are 5 more times more likely to die giving birth.
Oh, yes.
So they wanted to do that, and Candice was in the up.
She was approached.
She was approached to do it.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
And she had this previous. She's had years of looking into this.
Yeah. And then they opted for Rochelle Humes. Did I call her Rachel before?
Yeah, you did.
Oh no, I meant
it is Rochelle. Who is Rachel?
I don't know where Rachel.
I was like Rachel Humes, but then Rochelle, I don't know her surname either, so I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Rochelle Humes. I'm so sorry. That's really annoyed me. I can't even edit it. So. Rochelle Humes. Sorry, guys.
It's Rochelle.
Yeah, it's Rochelle. But yeah, she was the one that got picked, and she's the one doing the documentary. But there's a lot of uprising about it because it was like the whole point of the show was to prove what you're doing in picking who's going to document it. And I think their reasonings were just, she fitted more with the description, or we felt like she'd be able to deliver the message better. But in that being able to deliver the message better, that's loaded, because it's like, well, what you're saying is that people will receive it better from her because she's lighter skinned. Sorry, didn't mean to shout.
No, they also said, we didn't even actually offer the role to Candice.
Yeah.
Like,
well, why not?
They just wanted to talk to her, and it was some other show that they were actually talking to her about, but then that fell away, and then this one came up. It's just all this, you know, I don't know what it's called. Is it pussyfooting?
Yeah.
These words just sometimes, but they just didn't really want to say, oh no, we turned out this black lady, this dark-skinned black woman, because we thought this mixed race lady will probably be received better. And when I think of broadcasting in general, BBC, I think of all the English people outside of London and what they like to see on their screens, and it's probably those people that they're catering to, because if it was London, everybody knows that Candace has been doing this work
for years.
We're ready to receive it. Like, it would make complete sense for it to be her. But the audience they always have in mind, I think, in broadcasting is the other English people who like their palatable white, or mixed race in an acceptable sense. That's how they like to ingest their information. But they can't say that.
No.
Ring upon, is it the legal ombudsman? I don't know. We're going to court if they ever said something like that.
100% they couldn't say that. But it's just interesting. And it's interesting, even the fact that you say that, because it's like so many people, this whole idea of white passing. I didn't even know it was a thing till recently.
What?
Like, when we read Homegoing in book club, that's when I realised
that was a while ago, no?
Yeah, that was a while ago. But, like, that's still recent, as in recent in my life. Years, like, within the last year or so, I realised white passing was a thing. If you don't know what white passing is basically the action or the... How do you describe it?
I would say it's when you are of different ethnicities or from a different race or mixture of race and ethnicities that isn't purely Caucasian. But your appearance is that of a white, or you could be mistaken for a white person. There was even a book that we read, The Vanishing
Half. I didn't read
The Vanishing Half,
it,
where there were twins, but one was a bit more white passing, and she actually decided she was just going to live as a white woman.
And the thing is, back in the day, I couldn't even be mad at it. I can't be mad at it.
Can't knock your hustle.
Because to be honest, in this life, black people have struggled, you know. If you feel like,
but it's just
I could just struggle a little bit less.
It's the highest level of self-hate you can have. Just because you deny yourself just to not struggle in life, you know. Like, I can't knock it. I empathize because I wasn't born in the during, you know, apartheid and all these things. But
jeez, that is big facts. And that is factual facts. And it's that dissociation with even with your family as well, because it's like who you come from.
I can't claim that. Why is she looking dark skinned for? I'm white. I'm a white woman. Do you see that meme? When was it? I think it was when Trump was getting elected, and lots of people were painting themselves.
I'm screaming.
And they're like, who's black? Not me.
Not me.
I'm a white woman.
Yeah. Well, I saw it.
And she like put like white paint on her face.
Yeah. Well, then it's quite interesting because and the thing is, I just want to touch on this quickly. I don't want to go into it long, and I know that there's probably a lot of black men listening to this. Well, I hope there's black men listening to this, but because black men don't like to talk about colorism, especially when it comes to relationships and beauty and pretty and what they find attractive. Yeah, it's like, no. But
the thing with black men, and this isn't to generalize, I know there's like 60 of you now that are going, not me, never me, but
it gives me not all men vibes.
I just feel like it's lazy when they try not to have these conversations, because you just like to detach so much. But then there was that era when a lot of black men, a lot of dark-skinned or chocolate-looking black men, remember they came out to say, oh, but when we were at school, no one liked us dark-skinned. It was all about the light-skinned men. It was all about Chris Brown. And so you can acknowledge that. You can remember that.
But it's still happening to black women now. When it's still
happening,
you're
like, but you know, can't a guy just like what he likes?
Yeah, preference. I love that word.
Oh, you know, the ones that annoy me the most are black men that absolutely love black women. They're like, oh, I stand
my black
women,
sisters,
my black queens. You go queen.
Empress.
But look at your dating history. Are they really your black queens?
I'm leaving the podcast. No, this is me and my crop.
Wait. I don't know how to run this.
You can do it on your own. I'm leaving.
And that's exactly what they do. They're out of the conversation.
That's exactly them.